Drinks, food, art, fun. This is Hops and Spirits Kentucky.
The pools are open. Memorial Day weekend has happened. The cookouts have occurred. I think summer is officially here. I hope you had a great weekend with family and friends. And if you didn't get to get out and about, hopefully you get to do that here pretty soon. We got a fun one for you this week as we talk with Kyros Brewing out of Louisville, brand new one that just opened up there a couple weeks ago. But before that Q&A, what's pouring Kentucky? Some news and notes from around the state. Country Boy Brewing is opening a new taproom in downtown Louisville at the Falls City Market in the Omni Hotel. The taproom will feature a rotation of Country Boy beers, pizza, barbecue, and salads. When it opens in June, it will be the third Country Boy location behind the original taproom in Lexington and their production facility and taproom up in Georgetown. Craft Beer Passport Program Louisville Ale Trail won a Global Crushie Award for the Best Beer Trail at the 2023 Craft Beer Marketing Awards. The $10 booklet features nearly 30 Louisville breweries, and participants collect stamps to redeem prizes, such as a barrel stave bottle opener. You can find them on social media to learn more. Cincinnati-based Mazunte Tacos announced it will open its first location outside of Ohio in Lexington's Distillery District at 903 Manchester Street. In between the new boutique hotel in Manchester, which is just about to open or has opened, depending on when you're listening, and Manchester Music Hall. The roughly 4,200 square foot bar, cafe, and restaurant space will be called Mazunte Bodega and is scheduled to open at the end of the year. The same ownership group also plans to open two event venue spaces known as La Braza Lexington there as well. Multiple release news. James Beam launched its first single malt whiskey, dubbed Clearmont Steep American Single Malt Whiskey. It will be available in select states next month. Lexington Distillers announced the newest variant in the Rebel brand family, Rebel 100 Straight Rye Whiskey, which is available for an MSRP of $20 per 750 milliliter bottle. Lexington also announced two new variants in the Ezra Brooks brand family, the Ezra Brooks 99 Straight Rye Whiskey and a newly formulated Ezra Brooks Bourbon Cream. Both variants will reach retail shelves across the country later this month at a suggested retail price of $25 for the straight rye whiskey and $22 for the bourbon cream per 750 milliliter bottle. And four-time NBA champion Steph Curry is entering the spirits industry with the upcoming launch of Gentleman's Cut Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Years in the making, this blend of 5 to 7-year-old bourbon will be released worldwide this month at the Boone County Distilling Company following the inaugural bottling in northern Kentucky. So that's pretty cool. There are lots of stuff going on here in Kentucky. Up next, though, is our Q&A with Kyros Brewing in Louisville with Taylor Diaz and Nooch Saeedi. Enjoy.
Remember to check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hop Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopspirits.com.
Joining us here for our Q&A this week, they're part of the new brewery in Louisville, Kyros Brewing. Please welcome in Taylor Diaz and Nooch Saeedi. Saeedi?
Saeedi. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, second time was a charm. Welcome in, guys.
Good.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yep, glad to make it.
Well, and for those that don't know, you guys just opened up a week ago, kind of, from when we're talking. Now, when this drops, it'll be a few weeks, but just so brand new to the scene. Taylor's the master brewer, Nooch is operations brewer as well, and it's a family affair, and we'll get into that here in a second. But my first question I ask everyone this is Cliff Notes. So a little bit about yourselves, not too much because I've got many questions to ask. So a little bit about yourselves.
You want
to go first?
I can go first. So as it relates to brewing and like operations side of things, I've been in the corporate world for a little while doing operations. I've brewed beer off and on for about 10 years, homebrew, and just have moved originally from Colorado, big beer scene there. Came to Kentucky, started to see like that the beer scene was starting to explode here, and just got really excited about all the different opportunities that are here. Lots of really good beer, a lot of great breweries here in Louisville. And then started doing some more serious home brewing with Taylor, and I'll pass it over to you to jump in with the rest.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and my whole family, come from a line of foodies and sommeliers. So I've always appreciated good food and beverages, and got into craft beer, my early 20s, like most people. And I got into home brewing in my late 20s, about 6 or 7 years ago. My wife and I started as a hobby for my wife and I think the reason why we've kept with it so long is because we never bottled. I don't know if you ever bottled before, but
I have bottled.
Yeah.
And when he started in, he was dumping into kegging right away, and I'm like, dude, you're missing half of the torture of
No,
homebrewing.
I credit the fact that we opened 3 weeks ago to the fact that I never bottled. But
That's great.
yeah, so we started pretty seriously homebrewing 5 or 6 years ago, and Nooch and I kind of brewed alongside each other.
Yeah.
And on parallel journeys for about 5 years, and then we kind of started brewing together. And I'm sure we'll tell more of a story about like the community aspect and the back porch concept that we're creating. But kind of once our paths converged, it was full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Well, and so Taylor, clearly you come from a beverage world, but anyone that knows what a sommelier is not, that's not beer. So what happened? What, you didn't want to go in the wine world? You were like, nah, no.
He did make wine. He made one.
We did make a wine once, and don't know if I'll do it again. But I'm not wealthy enough to be in the wine world.
Just wealthy enough to be in the beer world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
I appreciate good wine. We appreciate good bourbon.
Yeah.
But beer's where my heart's at. So
Well, I like that. I like that. And you guys both mentioned kind of come from the craft beer world for, Pennsylvania, one of the largest independent guys up there, Yingling, Colorado, huge craft brewing scene. So was it kind of just where you guys grew up? Is that kind of how you got into the beer world and beer once you were, of course, legal, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, never drank before that.
No, never drank before that.
Well, he came from the beer capital of America,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, I mean, unless you talk to somebody from Washington, they try and fight us for it. But yeah, I mean, I grew up around it kind of through my brother. My older brother is a brewery, and Bijan, my older brother Bijan, brewed all through college years for him. And I kind of just sat alongside and started to learn more of what he was doing. Started off with like a bunch of DME and doing all of the like easiest ways possible to just basically get beer that was cheaper than what I could buy in the store. That was like mainly why I brewed, and the people I brewed with were of the same mind. It was like it was more out of necessity, and then like as the necessity started to fade away, it became more so about like, oh, we can make something that's really tasty, that's exactly the way we like it. And so it's really fun. I mean, you get to like, I think one of the things that's cool about how like I grew up around beer, but wasn't like, I actually moved to Kentucky before I was legal to drink. So I wasn't able to go to a ton of those breweries and like actually enjoy the beer until later when I've like gone back. But it's just cool to see like the variety, and every state kind of has their own thing going for them. Like I feel like Colorado, like a lot of sours and IPAs, but again, like tons of variety. And I think Kentucky, what's cool about Kentucky is we have Kentucky Common, and like no one else really has that. Like that particular style is just really cool to have something unique here. And that's, I think, what excites me so much about brewing is like everybody has a chance to put out something super unique and delicious. Like Noble Funk, for example, they did like some Girl Scout beers, I think. This is fantastic, man. They made a Samoa beer. I'm like, why not? I mean, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and Kentucky as a whole, and especially Louisville, for the size of our city, it's a very young craft beer scene.
Yeah,
which we're really thankful to be a part of it, and really thankful to be a part of the beer scene here. Because I mean, 10, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, there was nothing. And we were talking then when our friends at Third Turn, when they opened, actually our friends at Great Flood, when they opened, they were the 8th beer license in all of Kentucky, or 8th microbrewery license. So
somewhere in there.
Yeah. And then whenever we were talking about opening the brewery, we started doing market research and looking at Cincinnati, which has like lower population, but similar city. And they have like 50 breweries for about 750,000, and we have 1 million people in Louisville. And at the time, now there've been quite a few breweries have popped up since then, with the same idea, obviously. But at the time we had 18.
Yeah.
So it's an underserved market. There's a lot of support because the brewery community is so small. There's so much support. It's not a zero-sum game. The craft beer community in Louisville is incredibly supportive, incredibly helpful, and it's been a fun ride.
Well, and you guys both, like you said, you did the home brew thing first. Was it weird to kind of go from the homebrew side to obviously now you're making it on a little bit of a larger scale?
Yeah. I don't know. I think you should probably speak to that, because I think, the way that I grew up doing it and like making beer, it was, again, it was out of necessity. And so a lot of the equipment that I had was very much like as minimal as possible, like brewing beer, like having a Home Depot bucket as your fermenter with like, the little like nozzle spot for airflow, and like using granite ware pots on a cook stove. And he did some of that. Like you've done some
I
of
did
that.
some DMing batches.
Yeah, but you kind of went to all grain pretty quick. I mean,
Well, we went to all grain together actually,
Yeah.
a few years ago,
mhm.
and that was kind of when our beer game like stepped up big time. We bought a half barrel Herm system, and it's like just learning to brew all grain, and you have so much more control.
Oh yeah.
And we kept making great beer that our friends wanted to buy. And that half barrel system is actually the same system we're brewing on now. So
Yeah.
we're starting like super small,
Uh-huh.
just servicing our beer garden, not doing any distribution. And we'll scale up. We have some plans to scale up pretty quick, but right now we're still at a relatively, I don't want to say homebrew scale, but we're still small.
We're like one step. We're a step past. We're a step past enough where we can provide enough beer for people to drink. And more than we could possibly drink ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good problem if you've got a beer garden.
Yeah, exactly.
And you touched on this too at the beginning there, that back porch idea, or the back porch mentality, and that's where this really all started, right? That how this grew into what is now, Kyros Brewing.
Yeah, that's a Nooch question.
Yeah.
It was his back porch.
Yeah. It was during like the height of COVID, actually. So inside gatherings were like not happening. Like it was very early on, it was maybe like summer of 2020. And we had some friends of ours, so actually Rich and Cam Shanks, who are the other kind of part of this group. It's obviously like our wives, his wife Sarah, my wife Gina are all a part of this. We're like three couples all in it together. My wife and I were living in a place that had kind of like an upstairs where people could stay, and it was separated from our place. So no one was coming in to stay right now. Like Airbnb was not a thing right then. Nobody really wanted to travel. And Rich and Cam had some construction work going on at their house that was just driving them insane, because they couldn't leave the house, but they also couldn't use their house. Like their kitchen was completely torn apart. And so I said, well, why don't you guys just come here? Like we knew them kind of tangentially through some community and church groups that we were part of. And they came. I met them at the door, like mask and gloves and all the stuff, all the protective equipment. And in the evening, we would just kind of gather on the back porch. It's like we could be far enough away, and we just chat, got to know each other. And mainly like what brought us all together in that sense, there was like a loss of community just because of what was going on in the world that like kept so many people apart. And so this was like a really sweet moment to kind of get time with people, and get to know new people at the same time. And also we like congregated around really good beer.
And then random friends would show up.
Yeah, random friends would show up, hang out in the backyard or something. And by the end of it, it was about like 20 people. And I'm like, I don't know if this is like getting close to these limitations that we're supposed to be aware of. Thankfully, nobody ever got sick from any of it. So we're all good. But the beer was really what brought us all together. And so we kind of started dreaming from that point. Like, man, wouldn't it be cool to like have a place where we could do this regularly with people and like get to know people in a neighborhood, get to know people in like just all of Louisville. And so it kind of started to dream up from there. Taylor and I had already been talking about going in on like a slightly better homebrew system just for the fun of it. And then we found this like killer deal on some equipment in Florida, and we were like, let's do it. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Flew down there, drove back like the 16, 17 hours in one night.
In a U-Haul?
In a U-Haul.
I just had a baby.
Yeah.
Like
you
a month
just
earlier.
Great idea. Great timing.
Yeah, I think, let's see, that was 2021.
It was 20. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah,
it was winter of 2021.
Yeah. And so my wife was pregnant at the time with our second. He just had baby.
Yeah.
It was we were definitely being a little impulsive, but it was so much fun.
Yeah, and we
haven't regretted it yet. So
100% credit to our wives.
yes,
because I'm like, can I leave you for 2 days and go pick up all this equipment and spend a bunch of money on on this beer stuff? And she's like, well, yeah, you've got to do it.
yeah.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be,
Yeah,
right? And
it was Kyros.
and I was gonna say, is that when the moments aligned and things came more clear to
That
you
was
all?
one of many moments.
Yeah, there's like a stream of like Kyros moments. So like Kyros, as you know, we've already talked to you about this, but Kyros is a Greek word that's like talking about time, but it's different from like chronological time. So it's Kyros is like this it's like mostly translated as like a season or like a ripe time. And one of the key kind of imagery pieces that they use for it is like when an archer is stringing back a bow, there's a point where they reach kind of like the critical energy that they would need in order to release it so it could hit the target. And that's Kyros, like that pulling back, like that actual moment of like just before you release the arrow is Kyros.
Yeah, the moment of maximum impact.
Yeah. And so there's just been a ton of moments like that have happened around this, like honestly, so we got like our stimulus checks from the government, and it was like that week that we found this great deal on a system that was like almost exactly what we got from the stimulus checks. So it was like there's a lot of kind of very happy and almost like too clear coincidences that have happened along this journey. So
yeah. Do you want to lead more into that, or
no, you
Well,
jump in.
I was gonna say, and that led obviously to the name that you guys decided on. Slightly different spelling, though.
Yes.
Yeah, so the name came secondary actually to the moment.
Yeah.
So we had already decided to open a brewery. Nooch and I and our wives had agreed, to join forces.
Yeah.
And then our friends Rich and Cam, who Manoj mentioned, they have no brewing experience or background, period. Rich comes from a corporate world, but they're excellent at fostering community.
Yeah.
So we chose to bring them in. They're great friends of ours. They've been invaluable in the process. And we just really wanted them to be part of our journey, and especially what we're trying to do, building community. We knew that we need them. So we all were joining forces and planning and having meetings, and we had probably, I don't know how many meetings do we have about the name.
Gosh, I mean, it was months where we were going back and forth on different names, so like the back porch thing for a long time, we called that porch time. That was what we called it amongst ourselves as friends. And we're like, oh, so are we going to be porch time brewing? Like, is that what we want to go for a name? And went back and forth. We were 5 points at one point. We were, I mean, there were dozens of names that we went through before we kind of, and Kyros actually was mentioned kind of early on in the process, but
and I kind of shot Kyros down at the time.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't shoot it down, but
no, you didn't shoot it down.
But I was like, not really feeling it.
Yeah. It's like, it's funky to spell. No one will be able to spell the website. Like, we'll lose people. So, yeah. And then it just kept coming back up, and eventually it reached a point where the season was ripe for that to be the name. And we decided, like, when we did it, that we were going to change it up a little bit to like hone in on our Kentucky roots. So the traditional spelling of it, at least the like transliterated whatever into English, is Kairos, or sometimes it's Chairos. And we decided to go with Kyros to like show off, this is a Kentucky Kyros moment. Yeah.
And when people visit, they can have that moment.
Yeah. So, and then what that moment looked like is for months and months and months, we were waiting for the stars to align.
Yeah.
We were waiting for the Kyros moment. We couldn't find a space we liked. The finances weren't lining up. And like just several things, like, I just haven't had a child.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Job transition. And then just like all at once, we found this space that I'd fallen in love with. Sorry, we didn't find the space. I'd fallen in love with this building 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Back when it was a cafe. And when I walked in the building, I said, man, I want this space.
Yeah.
I didn't even live in the neighborhood at the time, but we found this space on the market. It was exactly what we needed. It was all set up for what we wanted to do. Needed very minimal improvements, although like a lot of cosmetic improvements we've done.
Right. Yeah.
we all, like, all of our finances lined up, and just several other things, family things, job things, all lined up perfectly. And then that's when we're like, man, this is like the perfect moment. And we all agreed. And that was like a lot of the language around that time is like, yeah, we got to do this because like all the stars are aligning. Like this is the right moment. And then that's when one of us texted the group and we're like, so what do we think about, like, let's circle back around to that Kyros.
Yeah. Yeah. The Kyros name.
And then suddenly we all liked it. Like we spent months not arguing, but debating
back and forth
and doing, ranked poll surveys about what name we wanted. And then I
forgot about
one of us just messaged in the group like, hey, so I know this came up before, but what do y'all think about Kyros now? And just unanimously, everybody's like, yes, 100% on board. Absolutely. It's perfect. So
it was meant to be. It was meant to be. And the location you guys have is kind of a unique one. While you're kind of, if you're looking at driving directions, it's on Portland Avenue, but it's technically off the back alley of Taylor. Is it Taylor Avenue? And
Tyler.
I had a feeling I had a chance, and I guessed wrong.
Close. Tyler.
And so, talk a little bit about the location, because you're kind of in the back of a building as well.
So the building we're a part of, there used to be a cafe in the front, and then we share the space with a catering company, and then there was a gelato. They didn't serve out of the space. They were just kind of like a back corner, which was exactly what we needed to start up production. And honestly, whenever it started, the idea was we'll start production here and just like get our license and do some distribution, and then eventually open up a tap room somewhere else in the city. But we also wanted to be open, when we're brewing, we want to be open to the community, to our friends and families. We figured it would be very informal, just on Instagram, hey, we're open, come check out a beer garden. And it kind of evolved from there. And I think there's a lot of factors. Part of it's what we wanted out of it, which is creating and fostering that community. And we are in an underserved, disadvantaged developing community. And there's just not many places. Just I like to talk about the third place, Howard Schultz talks about the third place. You got home, you got work, and there's that third place where you live life. And in the neighborhood that we're in, there are very few places like that. So we just really felt the need, felt the draw, and it just kind of evolved from there into creating a really nice space in the beer garden, which is just working with what we have. And we have plans to expand out of that, but right now, honestly, it's perfect for what we're doing. Our feedback has been really great. We're kind of a secret garden. And a lot of people have just discovered us by, they're walking down the street and then they see a sign hanging on the back gate, and they walk in and they're just like,
it's a little hidden
like, this
gem.
is in my neighborhood. So we've had great feedback. But I think we all like small beginnings too.
Definitely.
Well, I was gonna say, you guys kind of took it, like you said, obviously things change and your approach obviously changed, but most don't kind of go with the mindset of maybe just being a beer garden, because you have very limited to no indoor seating or anything like that. So it's all outdoors, and right now you're open just Friday and Saturday. So kind of like, is that just one of those things that just kind of grew as you went, and like you said, you just wanted to have that place where folks can enjoy a beer and company?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what we've done is kind of we've rolled with whatever has kind of come our way, and so the beer garden has been this like great opportunity for us to start to build that community, and start to kind of serve the neighborhood as well, which has been really cool. One of the best things, like the thing I've been most excited about since we've opened this, is the first weekend that we were open, we invited like a bunch of friends and family to come out and tell us what they liked and like give us some feedback and stuff. And then this past weekend was like the first weekend we were open just kind of to the community. Like we just sent it out on Instagram. We didn't do a whole bunch of advertising. We weren't gonna like show up on TV or anything for like a giant thing. But what was cool is we didn't really, like, we had a couple people that we knew, and the rest were like people from the neighborhood, or there's a couple of like cycling groups that go around to different breweries coming through, and got like great feedback from people we had never met before, which is kind of like, it's just a really cool thing to me to see that, regardless of how, we can be kind of hard to find, We're small, we're scrappy, but like the fun of it is in people finding it and it being like kind of their place. Like this is like no one else knows about this unless I take you there kind of thing. It's got a little bit of a speakeasy feel to it, I think, right now, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, and we've already got a few regulars.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's like to get regulars that quickly. I mean, we're so grateful to the folks that have been coming out.
And obviously family friendly is kind of a theme there too, which if it's community, that's going to be it. But for you all, I mean, it's legitimately family friendly because like you said, you've got some little ones. So why was that important too? Because clearly, 3 couples coming together, 2 of you with some younger kids and something that you all obviously wanted to share with them.
Well, I actually had a baby last month, my second child. So, and we all have full-time jobs. We want to be doing this a lot more, and we will be transitioning into putting more hours here in the future. But at the moment, we want to live life, and we want to live life with our families. So it just doesn't make sense for us to have a place that's not kid friendly because I want to see my kids on the weekends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and my wife. So. Yeah. So, and also again, with that third place, there's very few places for families to hang out in Portland, but also in the city at large. There's, we all take our kids to breweries, but there's a handful of breweries in Louisville where I take my kid and I don't feel uncomfortable. So like letting people know up front that man, we want this to be a family space. We want you to be here, but we want the whole community, the whole family, not just a place where you can come, by yourself and get a sitter. And we've had really great feedback about that, where people can just come and enjoy a beer and let their kids play.
Yeah.
With my kid.
Right. And my kids. Yeah.
And then they're tired. And then when you go home, they're going to bed, and it's a win-win.
Yeah, it works out for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the because as you were talking, Nooch, about like it's kind of got that speakeasy feel, because I was thinking about that. It's a hidden gem. You just need to put like a door and a little sliding thing on there, and knock 3 times or something.
Yeah, it's true.
But what can folks expect when they do get to visit and see the beer garden and get to try some of your beers that you have?
I mean, they can expect. I mean, we have a beautiful outdoor space with a lot of shade covering, got music playing. It's all fenced in around, so it kind of feels like private and a little secluded. There's beautiful trees all around. So in terms of like the atmosphere, it's very like cozy and welcoming. And especially with how nice the weather has been, I'm like hoping I'm not jinxing it by saying that. It's been really great. I mean, we even with like some of the light rain and some of the heavy rain that we've had, it's still pretty comfortable out here. We've got plenty of coverings that will like keep everybody dry. And then we've also got our inside space. You can come in and see our brewery. To get to our bar, which is inside, you walk right past where we make everything that we sell, or at least most of what we sell, if we're not getting stuff from other breweries here in town. And then we also have kind of like a little back room, which has a bathroom and a little seating area that we can have like on those really rainy days when we don't want to be outside, or at least when we don't have enough space outside for everybody. So I'd say like the way that we've been trying to build it has been to be a place where people can feel comfortable to stay for a while. Like we're really happy if people just want to come in and have a beer, but like the best is when you come in, hang out for a while, like maybe spend a couple hours here, try a couple beers, and we
let your kids run around.
Yeah, let your kids run around. It's gated enough. We can close the gate so your kids can run around. You won't have to worry about losing them. That's the only exit. So you won't be worried about your kids getting into anything if you want to bring them over.
And you kind of touched on this too as well. Clearly, the goal is to eventually just begin to scale up. But what does the future hold for y'all, and kind of what are some of those goals as you look down the road?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of great ideas, but I do think like one of the things we've kept really clear is that we're waiting for like the next Kyros moment for what's going to happen next. So there's some opportunities we're floating around. I don't want to say too much just yet, but I know that we've talked about getting some more inside space, reevaluating kind of how we do that, especially as the weather gets a lot warmer. But also looking ahead to like winter later this year, wanting to make sure that people are comfortable and come out and get a delicious beer even when the weather's not exactly great. Kentucky has, like, I'm from Colorado where the weather is just all over the place, and I moved to Kentucky and I feel right at home because it's all over the place here too. And so having a place like that, that's probably one of the first things that's on our minds. Like, how are we going to kind of expand the way that we can accommodate people inside in a way that's like much more comfortable, while maintaining kind of our family friendly and kind of speakeasy form of doing things. Is there anything like you would add to that?
No, not really. We like Nooch said, we have several different opportunities that we're looking into.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'd say
So
one of
stay
the
tuned.
things that,
Right?
Yeah,
we're not going to be a beer garden, like a beer garden only come January when there's a foot of snow on the ground, or it could be 75. You never know.
I know, yeah, it could be beautiful. We might just yeah, I'd say like probably the other thing about like we've just really enjoyed, like, I don't know that we necessarily would have planned initially, like as a full group to be where we are here in Portland, but we have just really enjoyed it since we've been here. And so as far as like any kind of expansion we do, I know that this neighborhood and the people that live here, like, we're going to be around. And if there's any opportunity for us to expand to different neighborhoods, like, this place is probably not going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
No, that's awesome to hear.
The other part of your question too is obviously we're going to be we are looking currently at, we're expanding up brewery production.
Yes. Yeah. Half barrel won't last us forever. So
yeah,
So that means people are enjoying the beer and you need to make more.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. We've got good feedback. So.
And my last question is, because like you said, you guys are friends, you other friends, you're both, and it's a whole family, everyone's coupled up as part of the ownership group. What advice do you have for folks that are looking into doing something like this, whether it's a brewery or just any business with maybe a group of friends or some couples and stuff? Because it's a different dynamic.
It is. I feel like I've spoken first on most of these questions. Do you want to jump first?
Yeah, I'll say two things. Number one is keeping your friendship first, and that was from day one, because we recognize that businesses with friends can get complicated. Yeah. So keeping relationships first. So our number one motto has been family first. So if Nooch and Gina can't make a meeting because their kid's sick, then we carry the weight. That's just kind of the agreement and the covenant we've all made with each other, is that family will always come first, even if inconveniences or doesn't. If we have the choice between a wise business decision and something that's good for our family, we'll always take family. And we've done a pretty good job of keeping up with that. Yeah. The second thing I'd say is having clearly defined roles. Yeah. Because if we hire somebody to be let's say like social media, then we are accepting that person has that responsibility and that the acumen to handle that lane. With friends, it's really easy to nitpick everything they do, and
we never do that amongst each other.
No, yeah.
It's really easy to cross boundaries and to not stay in your lane. So that's something that we've done, especially more recently, is saying, okay, Rich is in charge of merch, so we're just going to trust him with that. Yeah. And these are the things he's in charge of. He's done a great job so far.
I was going to say they pop on the video.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So having clearly defined roles and then respecting those roles for each other and respecting each other's strengths. Those are two things I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with those things. I'd say like the family first thing has been critical, and it's been like a really good way for us to like identify where there's a lot of decisions that we could have made to push things forward sooner. But we then would have missed out on some of these perfect moments that we've now gotten to enjoy. And so I think the thing that I would say is like, don't be in a hurry. Because I think when we're in a hurry, or when you kind of lead with excitement about something that's happening or your business that you're going through, it can be really easy to kind of make a bunch of decisions in a row that end up hurting some of the people around you. But if you go slowly, you have time to kind of talk through those things or think through those things in a way that lets you be really honoring and respectful to the people that you're working with. And ultimately, that helps your relationship grow. and it helps the business grow. Because in the end, the business, like, businesses for better or worse, like a lot of businesses fail, but relationships don't necessarily have to.
Mm-hmm.
And so better to have like a good scorecard in terms of your relationships than a good scorecard in terms of your business, because on your deathbed, you probably won't be too worried about that business venture. But if your friend is right next to you when you're dying, that's a good thing. That's a nice thing to have. The other thing I would say is Taylor and I have a very interesting kind of work relationship in general. We've known each other for a long time. I mean, 7 years now. No, that might be
10.
like almost 10 years.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's a long time for me.
Yeah. It's a long time. But what's been interesting is he's worked for me. I've worked for him. And now we've worked together. And so we've each had a chance to kind of see like the other person's style of doing things. And so I think it's just fun, like, if you're thinking of starting a business with friends or with family members, to just kind of do something else, like try something like lower stakes first.
Mm-hmm.
See how you guys jive, see how like everybody kind of works together or doesn't work together. And you can kind of figure out some stuff when the stakes are a lot lower, and then you can jump into the next thing if it makes sense.
I love that. That's some great advice, and I love the family first, because that is what you guys are trying to do there. It seems to be going well, and I can't wait to get out there and have a beer and let my daughter run around and have some fun.
Yeah,
because she will love that. And Nooch, Taylor, thank you so much for talking about Kyros Brewing.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us on.
Appreciate it. This was great.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.